Yo, what's up, everybody? So today we're gonna do a review on I guess you can call it like a 3-issue graphic novel. I mean, okay, there's actually 6 chapters to it, but it's actually the people that wrote it made it into like a 6-issue. Um, I guess you can say graphic novel itself. So it's like a kind of a standalone indie. And the book we're talking about today is Somna. This is actually kind of a good book. It really wasn't for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story behind it, but it was kind of too quick for my liking, and that's why I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, I started it and finished it in less than an hour. It was just pretty quick, like a really quick read, and so that's why it really wasn't for me. But overall, I really like the artwork. I kind of like what they try to do, and I'll explain what I'm talking about. So, getting into it, Somna. It's actually called Somna, a bedtime story, and it's by Becky Cloonan, and Tula Lotay. Wow. Let's see. There's somebody, because there's usually more than, yeah, here we go. So it's called Somna Collected Edition. There's actually a deluxe edition too that actually has another one-shot story with it, but I didn't get that one because I didn't really know nothing about this. I just saw it and I kind of picked it up. So yeah, like I said, it's by Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotay. Let's see, story and art by Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotay. Wow, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Colors is by Lou Ridge D. Knief and Tula Lotay. Letters by Lucas Gattani. Editors Will Dennis. The designs by Erica Schnatz. And packaging by Tiny Onion Inc. So let's get started. Let's flip through this and let me know what you guys think. I'm going to say this is for mature readers because there is nudity and a little bit of violence in it. So I'm going to try to flip through the pages to where you don't see it much. So bear with me on that. Alright guys, so I'm going to try to do this one a little bit better than my last video. Last video I dropped the camera. I might drop it again and I apologize. I'm still working on how to do this. But this is the cover of the book. The back of it. There you go. You guys can pause the video and give that a quick read. And yeah, let's crack this book open real quick. I actually like the end cover series with this. Like, it has the candle, the hand, the wishbone, which has nothing to do with anything, the moth, and the key. But anyway, like I said, Somna, a bedtime story. And so pretty much the story of this is, I guess you can say insomnia is what it really comes down to, because the main character, Ingrid, this is kind of based in the 1600s when they were like supposedly burning witches, so, females that were suspected to be witches, in some small town village. It doesn't really per se exactly say where it's located and the time frame. It's just that it's that because she's you know about Ingrid, about. Hold on, let me skip that one real quick. Sorry if you guys saw that. Yeah, there's nothing there. So the story starts with Ingrid, right? And she's having nightmares of this shadowy guy right here. And those nightmares that she's having is actually because she's being kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Her husband, his name is Roland, and he's kind of like the bailiff / witch hunter, and she's pretty much the ones that put the witches, at the stake, and he's not really there for her, so she's kind of needing that attention, if per se. So she's having these nightmares of cheating on her husband with this entity, whatever it is right there, and it gets to a point where we don't really know towards the end of the story if, hold on, I'm just kind of looking to see if that's, yeah, so towards the end of the story, we don't know if it's real or not, like that entity, or if it's all in her mind. So as you can see here, like on this side, she's dreaming still, and then she wakes up, and then you can tell that she's awake right now. She's talking to her husband, Roland, and things like that, right? And so it starts off with her and her husband. He needs to go to a trial, and she says that she's sick. And once she says that and he leaves, she takes a walk and still goes and watches the burning of that supposed witch up on a hill, where she meets up. See, as you can see, she's watching that. I love the art in this, oh, by the way. And as you can see here, this is kind of her, like her in her imagination. It's not really happening. It's just her imagination thinking, what would it be like being burned by, at the stake. So her friend, I don't know if it's, her name is Maja or Maja. It's Maga, Maja, and she's very important to the story. You actually find out what happens in the story, because in the story there's two murders, and at the end of it there's this big twist, and you finally find out what happens, and she's actually very pivotal in that, and exactly what happens to Ingrid as well. I didn't really like it how it ended exactly, but overall, like I said, the story was pretty, it was okay, a bit short. And like I said, I think what really drew me in was the art. Like I said, let me see if I can find one where, yeah, there's nothing bad. Okay, this is her husband coming home, so this isn't bad. I'm just trying to look. Okay, so this one's not too bad. There's no nudity in this one. So this, now you can tell she's dreaming again, and she's having nightmares of this dream, to the point where she doesn't want to sleep anymore. And because of this, she starts getting insomnia, and it gets to a point where she doesn't know if she's dreaming or hallucinating, even during the day while she's walking, and she's encountering these things that she shouldn't be seeing. And that's kind of what this book is really about. Like, I don't know, it was a little bit weird. Hold on, that's not a good one. It was a little bit weird, so to speak, when you kind of start really looking into it a little bit more and more. You're like, wow, this really doesn't make sense at the end. Like, what was really happening? Was that demon shadowy figure real? Was it not? Was it all in her head? Like, I guess she's repressed, some memories. I get that her husband kind of pushing her away, so she's looking for that, but she doesn't want to be that person. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, there's a big twist at the end when, things start coming out the truth. And we find out exactly what happens with Roland, what happens with Ingrid. And yeah, I don't want to give the spoiler away, but yeah, we know about this guy. He's the priest of the town church, but he also, I guess, plays the part of the judge. And I'm just going to say, he's kind of a dick. Like, the second you are thought out to be a witch, you're a witch, and there's no change in their minds. And I really don't like him because, yeah, he has no pity against them. What's weird to me is, like, only because, so we there's some events that happen in the story, and the husband is the only one that sees it, right? And because of this, he kind of notices it too, and since then, it like goes off to maybe she's a witch too, and it makes no sense because something happens towards the end where the husband's trying to prove she's not a witch, but she knows it's not going to work because she went through his tools that he uses to prove if females are witches or not. So it just made no sense to me. Like, he wasn't trying to back her up. It just made no sense. That's why I was kind of like, what's going on here, There's this story about, Maja, however you want to say it. And like I say, she plays a very pivotal role. This is her husband, what is it, Harold, I believe, as well. You find out what happens to him. And so that's pretty much the story of this. And at the end, you find out what happens to, Maja, Harold. There's another guy named Ingrid. You find out what happens to Greta. Greta is Ingrid's wife, that she's the one that gets burned on the stake at the beginning of the story. You find out what happens to Roland and what happens to Ingrid. And that's just about as much as I want to say about the story, because I don't want to give spoilers. I just do want to give the main plot of the story. Let's see if we can, let's go all the way back here towards the end. Let's flip through the extras. I don't think there's much. There's no nudity. Yeah, these extras are different cover arts, and they're freaking fantastic. Like I said, what really drew me in was the art, the design of it was really, really amazing. And that was, that's the back of the book, like I showed you guys before. All right, guys. So that's kind of the plot and the story of Somna. Like I said, I didn't want to give too much spoilers. So there's a kind of a twist at the end when you find out who's who and things like that, and then you end up finding finding out what happens to Ingrid. like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of this book because it was a bit short. I think they could have delved in a little deeper, with it, made it a little bit longer. Maybe they did it, short on purpose, but I think they could have really expanded on this universe a little bit more. It was just too short for my taste. And it just, some of the things that happened in the story didn't make sense to me at all. Like why the husband did this, why he didn't do this. It just like it kind of makes you think like what's going on here. And that's the writer's decision on why they did that. So again, this book really wasn't for me, but I hope it gives you guys enough to where you guys can make your own decision if you want to pick it up or not. I'm probably not going to keep this book. I picked it up. I'm probably going to sell it and and keep reading forward. Like I said, I do these videos more for myself to know what the story and plot is about. But more if you guys want to check it out and check out the review and see if you guys want to pick it up too, because it's nothing worse than going to a comic book store or shopping online for new graphic novels and you guys be like, should I pick this up? Let me read the summary of it. That kind of intrigued me, but I don't know not much about it. And so I really hope this kind of gives you more in depth of, okay, this sounds interesting. Let me pick it up. Let me read it. See if I like it. I know some people love this book. I loved it only for the art, not for the nudity of nothing like that, but just for the art itself was beautiful, right? It was extremely beautiful. I liked it. Two creators on, one working. It's weird because there was two creators in it. And I know you guys saw where she was awake and dreaming. And those two creators, one worked on the dreaming sequences and the other one worked when she was awake. So at the end of it, like the dream sequence and the real life part was kind of mixing together. So you didn't even know if she was dreaming or not anymore. And so I think that was very interesting in that part itself. But the rest of it, I was kind of like, great story, but it didn't really pull me in. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys think about the review. If I should make any alterations as far as how I'm doing these videos. Let me know if you guys read this before. If you guys have, let me know if you guys liked it. If you guys didn't, let me know what you guys recommend me to read next. I will tell you, I am not the biggest fan of reading superhero comic books. I am a big fan of Batman. I'm a big fan of Punisher, and I'm a big fan of Daredevil. I'm gonna be reading them soon, but I say I'm not a big fan of superhero comics because there's just so many of them, and there's so many graphic novels out there. There's hundreds and hundreds of graphic novels, omnibus of each superhero. If I were to go down that line, I would be, I read this was about this. I like picking up short stories kind of like this, almost like this. I would like them to be a little bit longer, but I like picking up kind of down-to-earth stories that have nothing to do with superheroes. I like kind of like the crime, maybe some horror stuff, things like that. I did say in my first video I read Criminal, the 3 volumes of it, and I'll do a review if you guys would like me to. But I read that and I really thoroughly enjoyed them actually. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Let me know what you guys think about this book, if you guys read it or not, and we'll see you on the next one.